Hello and welcome back to the Sport Optics Studio, ladies and gentlemen. I am one half of your favorite host, Jace.
And I'm just some guy who found on the street named Sean.
That's true, found him right out there. And today we are going to be talking to you about one of everyone's favorite subjects, usually Timmy's first optic, and that is none other than the tried and true red dot.
That's right. You know, we've all played Call of Duty, Battlefront, Battlefield, Battlestar Galactica, and had a red dot on our guns. So the future is now, and if you don't have a red dot, then you're not cool. So clearly, we're here to tell you why you need a red dot.
Yeah, and obviously these have been around for, what, 30-something years at this point. There's a million different videos on red dots and the like. But, hey, we're here to proliferate gun content and to support the Second Amendment, right? And we can always offer a unique perspective as well. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're going to talk about red dots today. So for those of you that may not know and may actually be curious on, you know, the inner workings of this and what exactly it is, it's actually relatively simple. You have essentially a LED emitter inside of here projecting a red beam of light, a red dot, onto a piece of glass in the end of the optic here, and it's always going to have some type of coating on it to make it slightly reflective, and that so the beam of light just doesn't project right through the glass. And you essentially are just superimposing the dot on your target, and that is simply how it works.
So we're all familiar with iron sights. Our grandpa said, yeah, I qualified for my rifle whatever it is. I shot 600 yards with my iron sights, and that's all I need. That's good enough. Maybe it's good enough, but if you can improve, then why wouldn't you, you know? So instead of having 3 planes of things to focus on, your front sight, your rear sight, and then lining them up perfectly and then looking at your target, you can just look at your target and then have the red dot over your target and you're ready to go. So you can just target focus instead of having to focus on the front iron and focus on the rear iron and line it all up perfectly. You just get much faster when you go with something like a red dot.
Yeah, and this particular example we have in front of us here right now, this is the Vortex Spark AR specifically, but there are plenty of red dots essentially like this, of this form factor. This was kind of popularized by Aimpoint a few years back with like their H1, H2, T1, T2. And a lot of companies were like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they kind of copied that design for good reason. It's nice and lightweight, relatively small. The battery life in these things are insane. And they just simply kind of work. You know, you have the aim points that were used by the military for years and still are. They're absolutely bomb proof, you know, a little bit more of a premium price tag on those guys. And then you have, like I said, essentially clones like this Vortex. Holosun makes their own version. Sig makes their own version. All of them are extremely popular, and at the end of the day, essentially do about the same thing, and they do it pretty darn well.
Yeah, so there's really no reason to have some sort of optic on your rifle. They've never been more affordable to get. You know, if you're looking to save as much money as you possibly can, then there are still options in the red dot market for you. So yeah, definitely pick yourself up a red dot, and you're gonna have a much better and much more enjoyable shooting experience. And especially for if it's your first gun or you're just showing someone who hasn't shot before, is nothing simpler, you know, and it's super fun. Easy way to get people into the firearms industry and just have any kind of interest in it for sure.
Yeah, a lot of the guys we talk to may not necessarily be going shoot every weekend, every other weekend. You know, there's obviously a example, us included, that are avid users, but for the average guy that literally either wants to plink a few times a year or just wants to have something that he leaves on a rifle that he has next to his bed in his living room, whatever, this is probably going to be the best option for that. A red dot is good for anything from the end of your barrel out into, you know, a couple hundred yards, depending on your eyesight and your skill set, right? So, you know, maybe at this point we're kind of rambling because it is like I said, just extremely simple. But as far as just keeping it simple and getting the job done, red dot.
And you can always throw a magnifier behind it if you do want magnification. That's always an option. You're not married to this system. You can always say, oh, I want more power, throw a 3-power magnifier behind it, a 4-power, a 5-power, whatever, you know. They're all gonna have an absolute co-witness or a lower 1/3. This is gonna be higher than that, it's a special mount. But those are like your standard mounts, and most magnifiers are gonna accommodate that height. So you're not married to 1 power. You can always throw a magnifier behind it and get some magnification if you want it, so.
Yeah, and realistically, we could sit here all day and delve into more nitty-gritty on all the different variants and types and mount heights and blibbity blobbity blue. But we are gonna go over some more examples because there are some other things to consider as well.
So up next, we have not a red dot, we have a holographic sight, which uses different technology than a red dot does to project this type of beam. And what's great about it is it helps out with astigmatism. In our optics myths video, we went over what are some common problems with having a red dot. Really, it's just astigmatism. And what's great about these is, since they use a different technology, you don't get that astigmatism starbursty kind of look when you're looking through the red dot. The trails, how it's not just a crisp dot, it can be sometimes elongated. Not really a problem. It can, you know, just be a little annoying, but you can still clearly tell that, okay, the center of the dot is right there. It's the brightest part of what I'm looking at. So you can still use it. I have astigmatism and I have plenty of red dots and they've never given me any kind of issue. But I also have a holographic sight and it doesn't give me an issue. So definitely something worth mentioning. Yeah. Another thing about these is you can probably talk about how it's got a larger window, huh?
Yeah, so that's the main reason I have one of these myself. So generally, I do, in most cases, I prefer a red dot, I would say, just because of the size and weight. But I love big window optics, even on pistols, which we'll get into. But something like this, just having that larger window, that larger field of view, I think is really, really cool to have. And as far as any other inherent just differences between this and a red dot, because again, like Sean was saying, they are functionally pretty similar. You get the big window. You do get, generally speaking, like noticeably less battery life. Most of these are going to be a manual turn on and off because of that lower battery life, whereas red dots are either going to just stay on indefinitely or they're going to have some type of shake awake type feature, meaning they come on when you move the rifle or anything. These you're generally going to kind of be a little more manual, turn them on and off because of that lower battery life. And that's essentially what I would say is the two main differences between the two, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and and for if you're doing night vision use, any type of passive aiming, you can definitely do it with a red dot, of course. Most people generally prefer passive aiming with a holographic a little more. At the end of the day, it's really going to be a personal preference thing. But having spoken to people who've used both, including myself, generally, if you're going to passive aim, the holographic's a little bit superior for that.
So here we have a perfect example of how you can add magnification to your red dot. It's a holographic. We've thrown a magnifier behind this. This is the Vortex 6-power. So right now in the stowed position, it is out of the way and you can just lift it up and now you're magnified. This is a nice mount where everything is flush in line with the Picatinny rail, so it's not flopped out towards the side. I believe this is probably the Unity one. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, it needs a Unity riser as well to get this to the correct optical center line or height to make this work the way it works so nicely. So just a quick mention that you're not married to 1 power. You can always increase it with a red dot. You can always throw a magnifier behind it.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just, boom, pop this right off if you want to, just as easy as that. Bam, it's gone. And now you've shed some size, weight, and you know, made yourself a little more maneuverable, right? So moving on to talk about something a little different, not necessarily about the red dot itself, but just when it comes to mounting and a little bit of a more unique way of using the red dot. You know, besides just having the red dot mounted on the rifle. As you can obviously see here in front of me, we have a more traditional, higher powered scope with a cute little red dot sitting on top of it right here. And what we've seen, and this is nothing too new. It's been going on for a little while, but it's became extremely popular here lately in the last couple years, with more people using night vision goggles, more people using
gas mask.
Gas masks, yes, thank you. Running competitions, and you know, a couple other little nuanced things, and that's essentially doing a top-mounted red dot, or also a lot of people will run side-mounted red dots as well, cannoned at like a, you know, a 45-degree angle, so it's still in line with the barrel, but you just kind of, and then you're right behind it. But a lot of people are doing this, you know, whether it be on a diving board mount. A lot of them used to be ran on diving board mounts. Now you'll see a lot of companies are making mounts and rings specifically designed to mount different red dots and stuff. This is actually a pistol dot, but you can do pistol dots, traditional red dots, whatever, you know. And this, what this essentially does is you have this higher powered scope. This is specifically a 3-18, but a lot of guys will even do it with LPVOs, you know, 1-6s, 1-8s. And the main reason behind it is if you were at a higher power, doing some work, you know, but you need to, you know, essentially instantly transition to a 1 power to shoot something more up close. You can, bam, pop your head up, or swing your gun to the side, and you're instantly at 1 power versus having to crank down a scope or anything like that. And as like Sean mentioned earlier, a lot of use cases for passive aiming as well. If you're trying to, if you're shooting with the regular scope and then you want to switch to nods, obviously you're not going to want to try to get behind a traditional scope with nods, so you have your top mounted dot for use like that.
I've even seen some people at competitions have top-mounted red dots just so they can acquire their target faster.
Yep, that's true.
Instead of instantly looking through your 5-25, which is usually what we see, or 6-36s at these competitions, these top-mounted red dots, you can just know, okay, I generally kind of have an idea of where I want to be looking through the red dot, and then you just move your head down, and now you have a full field of view looking at your target. So that can be significantly faster. I've even seen people on spotting scopes have red dots so they can spot targets faster. So just a bunch of cases of why you would want to top mount a red dot specifically. I would recommend trying both a 45-degree offset and a top-mounted red dot, and see which one you prefer. You know, both have great use cases for sure, and I've tried them both. I have some outfitted like this. I have some with a canted red dot, as some will call it. And you know, it really just depends on the kind of shooting you're looking to do and the kind of capability you want that rifle to have. Yeah.
So just in closing, you know, red dots can be used for more than just the single dot on a gun. They're an extremely versatile piece of glass.
So next up, we have pistol-mounted red dots. The future is now, old man, for sure. Eventually, they're going to start shipping these things from the factory with red dot sights on them. When's it going to be? It's already here. Not all of them, of course, but you know, some pistols are shipping with red dots now. But there's a good reason. There's a good reason for that, and it's the same reason why you would want a red dot on just about any other gun. Instead of having 3 things that you're focusing on, rear sight, front sight, and target, all you got to do is look at the target, put the dot over it, you're ready to rock. Fast, easy, simple. It does take a lot of practice to present and get that dot in your field of view. You got to practice your draw to get that fast and efficient, but once you got it, you got it.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier with the holographic, I love big window dots, and there's, you know, different optics of all kind of different sizes depending on personal preference, use case, yada, yada, yada. This is the new Vortex Defender XL. I want to say it has the biggest, or at least one of the biggest windows on the market as far as pistol optics go. And man, it's awesome. It's a nice, huge field of view. It makes it a little easier to find the dot, although finding the dot is 100% a practice and training thing. That's something you as the individual should get better at and be comfortable with, not just rely on the optic to make it easier for you. But yeah, you know, just like we've kind of been harping on how optics are the future, optics make things better and easier. Then now they're more prolific on pistols than ever before. You know, you used to see people in competitions running the weird mounts that connected to the rail and then held like a, you know, like a rifle red dot here on a separate mount type thing. And that's cool, you know, for that type of use. But most manufacturers now are making pistols straight off the assembly line with optic cuts.
Yeah, built into the slide already, ready to rock.
Yep. They're sometimes they're cut for specific optics. Sometimes they use some type of like adapter system so you can mount whatever you want on there. But all that to basically say that optics on pistols are awesome and they're here to stay. And if you haven't made the jump from irons to optics on pistols yet, I am truly urging you to try. I was skeptical myself for a long time, even after being a fan of optics on rifles. I was hesitant on this, but man, after trying it out, playing with it, getting, you know, what I would consider to be decent with it, it's I can never go back.
Yeah, certainly agree with that for sure. So give us a call, because we know you have a pistol at home that doesn't have an optic on it and it needs one. And you don't know which one you need, but we do. So call us and we will point you in the direction of an optic that is perfect for you.
And as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. All that fun stuff helps us out tremendously. Please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything we've talked about today, as well as anything else we offer here at Sport, me and Sean are more than happy to talk to you at length and figure out exactly what you need. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff we didn't cover today. We could sit here all day and talk about this stuff, but I think we got the nitty gritty of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So with that, thanks again. We'll see you on the next one.
See you around, guys.
God bless.